The race to the White House is heating up. After the Democratic National Convention, a 4-day celebration of the U.S. president has begun. The RNC, the Republican National Convention, has started. What's different about this convention is that unlike the Democratic one, this is not an entirely virtual event. At least 336 Republican delegates from all over America have gathered in Charlotte in North Carolina. For the next 3 days, they will be honoring what they call the Great American Story. And of course, the man himself, Donald Trump. The convention will highlight 4 years of the Trump administration, the promises he has delivered on, the governance systems he has transformed, the international agreements he has secured, and the greatness that America has achieved under him. The convention began with the nomination of Donald Trump for his second term. It will culminate with a live acceptance speech by Trump all the way from the White House. As Trump prepares his acceptance speech, here are some developments that are making news in America. As Trump prepares this acceptance speech, here are some other developments that are making news in America. There are large-scale protests outside the Charlotte Convention Center, the venue for this event. Dozens of Black Lives Matter demonstrators are facing off with the police. The authorities say these protesters are trying to derail the Republican convention. The protesters say they just want Trump to acknowledge their concerns in his speech. Second, these ads that have blanketed the home pages of almost every leading news portal in America. Most leading news websites have been inundated with Trump campaign ads. This is because the Trump campaign has invested heavily in premium or unskippable ads on most websites. And since we're discussing political ads, here's something I must tell you. The Trump campaign is using snippets from the Howdy Modi and Namaste Trump events to woo Indian American voters. In fact, they've released an entire campaign video dedicated to India's friendship with America. They headlined it as 4 more years. Take a look.
He needs no introduction. His name comes up in almost every conversation. The President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump.
Now to the other side of the story, the controversies that surround the Republican convention. The row about mail-in voting tops the list. The pandemic is driving many Americans to consider voting by mail in this November's election. Donald Trump says this will lead to fraud because the U.S. Postal Service is cash-strapped and will not be able to function on a national scale. And this is where the Democrat-dominated House of Representatives has trumped the U.S. president. They recently voted to provide this cash-strapped postal service with a $25 billion grant to fix the system. But the U.S. Postmaster General is still in two minds. Mr. Louis DeJoy says that this money may not be enough to fix the problem. The Democrats say that he's saying this because he's a Republican operative. Well, they are blaming him for undertaking some operational changes in the system to suit the Republican narrative. Mr. Louis DeJoy testified before the U.S. House Committee earlier today. We're waiting for the details of this testimony. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away from America, the wait is slightly longer for Zheng Sheng, the manager of a Shanghai-based arts organization. He's waiting for new orders for wax replicas of Donald Trump. He had been shipping some 700 figures annually. Trump was his best-selling model, but the Wuhan virus has hit the orders. Now Zheng is waiting for new customers and thinking of switching to making Joe Biden's replicas. Because back in America, the tide seems to be turning in Joe Biden's favor. Even before the Republican National Convention could begin, the American media was lauding and applauding Joe Biden's performance at the Democratic Convention. One media network stood out, Fox News. An unfriendly territory for Joe Biden and Trump's primary source of most of his arguments. Now on your screen is a headline that Fox News carried 3 days back. It created quite a storm. Allow me to quote, "Biden promises a healing presence in speech praised by left and right." A healing presence, says Fox News. Donald Trump may be losing his friends in the media. The Republican convention could be his last chance to win them back.